has built upon the materialist conclusion that consciousness is a random product of the mind and can be explained by natural processes and by chemistry of the brain. That our existence is determined and completely created by our DNA and brain biology. Essentially, we're just biological robots, right? Now, now, breakthrough discoveries in the field of quantum mechanics and other fields of scientists imply that this is not the case. Instead, the natural universe is emergent from consciousness. And at a fundamental level, we can call this personal source God. New studies have shown that the mind is actively able to change the chemical makeup of the brain. Science cannot explain the will and its effect in shaping and molding our reality. Thus, we are not slaves to genetics and brain chemistry. Now, Michael, what are your thoughts on this, real quick?
Well, in terms of mind and brain, again, it goes back to this universal energy that really does reside within everything, and it could be kind of looked at as though on the basic building blocks that create us from that energy are then what the brain turns into. It's like the brain is the computer in which the universe is using to calculate some sort of grand equation. It's trying to calculate a super task, which is an infinite number of calculations within a specified time. And so right now that's going on. We don't know how much time it's going to take, but the universe is indeed using these human forms as we continue to evolve as the computer in order to figure itself out. So it creates it's this giant loop between energy materializing into greater and greater forms through this process of evolution in order to figure out as much of itself. And in the process we get these wonderful things like the ability to experience emotion, and it's really special to be able to perceive that in the way that humans do, and whatever we evolve from here.
What a time to be alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, seriously, we are at such a pivotal moment in our evolution as the human species. You know, we now have access to the internet, and we become even more connected than ever before, right? So we have the ability not only to share information, but to connect with others in a way that we never did before. Now, one of the things that I am extremely interested in quantum mechanics is a concept called quantum entanglement. So, quantum entanglement is a proven principle of quantum mechanics that observes that at a subatomic level, entangled subatomic particles are capable of communicating instantaneously across space and time. This fact violates Einstein's own theory of relativity, specifically that the transmission of information cannot travel faster than the speed of light. So Einstein called it spooky action at a distance.
That's a track.
Spooky action.
So perhaps the most famous example of quantum entanglement says that particles on opposite sides of the universe can be intrinsically linked so that they share information instantly. And this is the idea that made Einstein scoff. In a simplified expression, an entangled system is defined as one in which the quantum state of its components cannot be factored as a product of its local environment, because the individual particles are part of an inseparable whole, no matter how great the separation. In entanglement, one component of the entangled system cannot be fully described without considering the others in its system, because they are so interrelated and share information simultaneously. The state of the entangled system is expressed as the sum, or the superposition of all its components. Now that can be difficult to grasp, but it's this law of quantum mechanics that applies at all scales. So if this is true for the microcosm, then it is also true for the macrocosm. This quantum process can be applied to larger systems, such as biology, which leads us to a whole nother field of study called quantum biology.
In terms of quantum biology, that would be this resonating materialization to create the brain. And to go back to your point in terms of how Einstein was perceiving it with spooky action at a distance, the thing that quantum mechanics begins to show us is that there may not be any distance, and there may not be these different dimensions which are separating things, spatially speaking. And it begins to kind of look at the fact that this could be one single dimensional frequency that we are all a part of. So it's when you think of it being at a distance, instead of it looking at it as that, think of it as being part of the same whole. And then things like quantum mechanics begin to make sense because you realize that it's the same thing, but you have this observer in the middle. You have this consciousness that we are, and we're observing ourselves. So it looks as though there's distance between us in space, but it's still the same life force that feeds through all of it. And so when you begin to think of it like that, in terms of it just being one aliveness that each one of us is able to kind of tap back into at a very fundamental, basic level, you can really see that there is no distance between anything. It's all part of some single whole. And quantum mechanics and quantum biology are going to be able to, once we get better at it, show that.
That like everything comes from the same source.
Same singularity, exactly.
It's like a giant, big picture masterpiece that you just zoom in and out of. Like you zoom the farthest amount in, and it's just a brush stroke, and you zoom out and realize it's a
fractal.
giant picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing about the universal consciousness is that we each have a singularity within us which is feeding back into the whole. And each one of us is indeed just a different iteration in this computing mind that we live within. And so sometimes the equation wants to recreate a different iteration of itself. And so that's done through how humans involve love. So when you were created, by your two parents, these are two-dimensional, separate, but linked dimensional waves that converge and create a new singularity, which again feeds back to that union of creation. And so you are conceived, and you are then, a new part of that whole wave. So that's how we come to be here.
And that ties into the unified theory as well.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the most beautiful things that I ever heard, right, is that you are the creation of infinite generations of love. And it is true, man. Down to our DNA, the reason we are here today is because that connection was shared between so many of our ancestors. Now, as I said, that when I first heard that, that kind of shook me in such a beautiful way because we are the product of love. You know what I mean? So I really love that, and I love to share that one too.
It's a great convergence, love. It's the tying energy that we all are brought together because of.
And I've also heard, like, I'm reading this book, Seth Speaks, and he speaks of the consciousness creating you in the physical reality as a form of creative expression. That's the way the conscious expresses itself creatively. It creates
Absolutely.
a physical being, and it sees what possibilities can come
Absolutely.
from that.
There's a full there's a full spectrum of emotion, but once you have the awareness of what you are, of course, you want to be on that love side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
you want to be
yeah,
on that
absolutely.
happiness side of it because it's really just like, wow, I'm so connected to everything else. There's no separation. There's no division. And so when you have the awareness that brings you to those places, that's that tying force. That's that love force. So.
Love force.
Love force.
All right, y'all. We got a deep one by the homie Death Moment. This one is called Tranquil Eyes.
Thought Capture and defend the objectives. Must be
Death moment, that was amazing. Keep on doing the damn thing. Alright. And this one's by one of our Manifest Gang's own, Flow. This one's called Feet Skipping.
securing Bravo. Securing B. Enemy soldiers on the field. Securing Bravo. Enemy is a cargo container. Enemy UAV overhead. Taking Bravo. On Alpha. Enemy
mechanics, quantum physics. Now, I want to touch on cosmic consciousness. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, right, cosmic consciousness has been defined as a higher form of consciousness than that possessed by the ordinary man. This type of awareness may be associated with an experience of knowing God, or transcending the five senses and finding a hidden consciousness or reality in which is beyond the perceivable world. For many, the journey to experiencing cosmic consciousness involves practices such as yoga, meditation, prayer, and active faith. It is said that in a state of cosmic consciousness, the human mind is elevated beyond the awareness of the self and the ego, and enters a place of oneness and unity with the universe. It is finding this unity that is the one goal of the yoga. It is postulated that the concept of cosmic consciousness may be related to the hidden dimensions of quantum mechanics.
Charlie.
Well, I definitely based on studies that have already been done with things like variance,
Enemy UAV overhead.
transcendental meditation with Tibetan meditations is where we looked at. They reach states of very, very high brain activity, which is part of the brainwave vibration brainwaves that operate at first levels of what is inside of our brains. So there's a bit of a conflict, and the thing that we're tapping into in these moments of transcendence is that cosmic consciousness. So there is definitely an ascending level, which we as humans are going to be tasked with just trying to find for ourselves and then as a species. That's what I think of cosmic consciousness.
Getting as close to the vibration of the universe as possible. Lunar vibration, yeah.
I had something I wanted to say about quantum physics. I'm reading a book called The Jazz of Physics. I'm not very far into the book, but it links music and the structure of the universe. That's like the the introduction it mentions that both jazz and quantum physics use improvisation as like its method of like covering ground. So like very like improvisation based, and that's how you like and it kind of has to be applied to making new discoveries in quantum physics. Like you get the grasp of the fundamentals of what you're doing, and then you kind of have to like make leaps and then sort of I thought that was really interesting, and talk about this as I go for episodes.
Now, to touch back onto that, right? So I actually looked at that study that you're talking about, and what they did was they took brain scatters and they scanned lifelong meditators who have meditated over 62,000 lifelong hours, right? Now, the brain waves of these meditators showed significant levels of gamma wave, which is the strongest wave in our EEG spectrum. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I believe they're using EEG, which is electroencephalography, to measure the brain waves that they were seeing.
Yeah. So the gamma wave is like the type of wave that would be experienced when we bite into an apple, right? It's like a sensory, pleasurable experience in like all dimensions: smell, taste, sound, and the feel of like crunching into that apple. Now, the study shows that these meditators have this gamma at an all time as a lasting effect. This is their everyday state of mind. When asked to do a meditation on compassion, these gamma waves jumped 700 to 800% in a few seconds.